Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the student information session for the Pathways to Equity Work Integrated Learning Bursary. My name is Anamika Baijnath. I'm the project co-lead and also the Director of Experiential Learning in the Faculty of Community Services in the Dean's Office. I'm joined as well in bringing you this bursary by colleagues in the eLhub, which are part of the team that is proud to be able to bring this bursary to our TMU students.
And I'm Taryn Cicchelli, and I am the project coordinator for the Pathways to Equity Bursary.
So as we do in the tradition of TMU, I would like to start with our land acknowledgement. Toronto is in the dish with one spoon territory. The dish with one spoon is a treaty between the Anishinaabe, the Mississaugas, and Haudenosaunee that bound them to share the territory and protect the land. Subsequent Indigenous nations and peoples, Europeans, and all newcomers have been invited into this treaty in the spirit of peace, friendship, and respect.
Okay, so we are here today to talk about the Pathways to Equity Bursary, which has launched. So applications are now open, and the application period is open until October 31st. So today we'll go over the bursary goals, eligibility, the student application process, our commitment to accessibility, and more. So the Pathways to Equity for domestic students is funded by the CEWIL Canada's Innovation Hub. And CEWIL is a national organization who has received funding from the federal government's Innovative Work Integrated Learning Initiative Fund. And the criteria for eligibility is largely set out by the federal government. However, CEWIL is accountable to them for meeting this criteria. But where possible, CEWIL has extended flexibility to see as many students as possible get access to this money. And for Pathways to Equity for international students, the criteria is similar. However, the funding is coming from the Office of the Provost here at TMU. So an overview of the bursary. So the Pathways to Equity Work Integrated Learning Bursary is an initiative aiming to reduce financial barriers that prevent students from engaging in unpaid WIL experiences. So we're really trying to reach students that identify as being part of one or more equity-deserving groups who are completing an unpaid work-integrated learning experience. We'll get into the definitions of that a little bit later on in the presentation, but equity-deserving students who are completing an unpaid WIL experience in this fall semester, the fall 2025 semester, who complete a minimum of 60 hours at their unpaid WIL site. Last year, with the same bursary funding, we gave out over $300,000 across 180 students. This year, we hope to do something similar. We're really aiming to reach 200 equity-deserving undergraduate students with this bursary to help offset the costs of participating in their WIL. So some of these costs could include, travel to your WIL site, income lost from paid work, childcare, elder care, materials, supplies, professional fees, health-related costs, getting professional clothing, getting your vulnerable sectors check, things like this, and more. So we want to maintain a commitment to accessibility and really make this a barrier-free application process for students. So if students have any questions about the process or any eligibility questions, they are very much encouraged to email me at the pathwaybursary@torontomu.ca email address. I'll try my best to answer your question over email. I'm also happy to set up a time to meet with students to go over the application together. And then I'm actually having drop-in hours this coming Thursday, October 16th, for students to schedule some time so we can go over anything and I can help them answer any questions.
And Taryn, the registration to your calendar is available on our website,
Yes.
our bursary website, so students can go there and book some time with you.
Yes, thank you. Okay, the bursary process. So step one is to check your eligibility. So your eligibility as a student and the eligibility of the partner organization who you are working with. Step two is to apply. So the application process is the same for both domestic and international students, and students can apply on Award Spring. However, this is a little bit different than other Award Spring applications because this bursary application has a two-step process. So one step is the application on the Award Spring platform. So once you are signed into Award Spring, you should be able to see the option for the domestic and the international application on your dashboard. So step one is to complete the questions on the Award Spring application. And then step two is to complete the questions in the Google form. So on the Award Spring application, there's a link to a Google form that you can just open up right then and then fill out all of the required questions. And then once that is done, and once the Award Spring questions are completed, then you have a completed application and you are ready to submit. So it's the two-step process, and then you're ready to submit. And then step three is the waiting period. So students can expect to wait 3 to 4 weeks once the application period has closed after October 31st. And then step four, successful applicants will receive a notice about their bursary funds sometime in December. So this is a QR code to the website, to the eLhub website, where you can learn all about the Pathways to Equity CEWIL Bursary. There's a ton of information, and if you have more questions, you can scroll down to the bottom and see where we have our frequently asked questions section. And if you still have more questions or want some clarification, please feel free to email me at the Pathway Bursary email address, and I will do my best to get back to you and try to support you. So this is an example. This is the front, the top of the form of the Google form that is part of the application process. Okay, bursary funding amounts. So there are two amounts that students could receive as part of this bursary, and the amounts are based off of the hours spent at their WIL site. So students who complete 60 to 120 hours at their WIL site in the fall semester would be qualified for the $1,000 amount. And students who complete more than 120 hours at their WIL site in the fall semester would be qualified for the $1,800 amount. If there are additional funds available, students in the 60 to 120 range may be considered for a higher amount. And for this bursary, proof of expenses are not required. There's a couple questions in the Google form, but you do not need to provide receipts or any additional information. Okay, so student eligibility. So one of the factors for student eligibility is identifying as a member of an equity deserving group. So we have the equity deserving groups listed here, and students who don't want to self-identify with one of these categories do have the choice to say they prefer not to answer, although we really do encourage students to answer if they can. And on the Google form, this is where we ask about this information, and it's just a list like this, and you just check off the ones that you identify with. Additionally, for the CEWIL funds, so that's for the domestic students, students must be either a Canadian citizen, a permanent resident, or a person with refugee protection and legally entitled to work in Canada. And for the Provost office funds, international students who are eligible to work in Canada are able to apply. Additional factors for student eligibility include being enrolled in an undergraduate program at TMU, being enrolled in a course offering a curricular WIL experience, have an unpaid WIL experience with a minimum of 60 hours completed in this fall semester, and be eligible to work in accordance with provincial or territorial regulations.
So here are some examples of our WIL opportunities at TMU. So work integrated learning at TMU looks like community-based learning, external projects, entrepreneurial WIL, practicum and placements, and unpaid internships are just a few examples. Eligible students need to be enrolled in a course that provides academic credit towards your degree at the same time that these kinds of activities are being completed, and may be receiving supervision from the industry and community partner. So partnership eligibility is one of the areas that is a bit challenging for students' application process. And it is, though, however, a really crucial and critical criteria. Even if students identify as equity identified without this eligible partnership information, they are unable to receive the bursary. So partners can include private organizations such as businesses, incorporated or unincorporated bodies, or for-profit band councils. Other partners could be majority of partners who are all nonprofit organizations, including local community, charitable, voluntary organizations, unions, not-for-profit band councils, provincial or territorial non-governmental agencies. If the organization has a charitable number, the organization may be eligible as a host, industry, or community partner. So to confirm that the organization has a charitable number, there are a couple ways you can do that. First, you can check the Canada Revenue Agency charitable listing website. And then the other way is by going to the donation page of the organization. And there you should be able to find their GST and HST number. In some cases, the host industry or community partner may be managed by a larger organization, for example, within a school or within a hospital. In these cases, you'll need to search for the school board, the division name, or the health authority name in the CRA charitable listing website. Here are some of the ineligible partners. Post-secondary institutions are not eligible with the exception of entrepreneurial WIL only. So, for example, a student who is doing a placement here on site at TMU would not qualify for this placement, or any other post-secondary institution for this matter. Federal, provincial, territorial, and municipal governments, members of the House of Commons and Senate, organizations that engage in partisan political activities, the financial sector, with employers that have more than 500 or more employees, which includes all their branches, as well as organizations for which you are paying a service such as software or training. Those are typically not considered as eligible partners for a WIL experience. So we know this can be confusing, and it may not be easy for you to attain some of the information, gather some of the information like the GST number or the HST number that's required. So we encourage you to please complete the application with as much detail as you possibly can. Please include the name of the organization. Please include the address of the organization. And with Taryn's assistance, there will be an opportunity for us to track down some of that information if you provide as much as possible on your application form. However, any questions around this, because again, I know this can be confusing, and that's the experience we had last year, we encourage you to reach out to Taryn at the Pathways email. And here is the Pathways bursary at torontomu.email. Again, we encourage you to reach out. Please take a look at the application process. And if you have any questions, visit our drop-in hours on Thursday that Taryn's holding this week on October 16th. And you can also contact Taryn at this email address, and she'll be able to assist you with any questions and spend some time if you need to review the application with you. Thank you all for your time, and we appreciate you attending today's session.
Thank you.
Best of luck to you all.